They say love brings out the best in us. In Kabelo Mokhale's case, it brought out something older, something a river never forgets. Kabelo was the picture of success, a 35-year-old South African property mogul with a penthouse in Sandton, a fleet of luxury cars, and a reputation for late-night lounges and fleeting romances. When his firm sent him to Lusaka to close a land deal, he expected champagne dinners and glossy power lunches. But what he found instead was Thandiwe. She worked behind the counter of a small print shop, tucked between a mechanic's garage and a corner cafe. She had no makeup, no weave, just straight, calm, and eyes that held stories. She printed his business cards, slipped in an extra copy of his proposal, and waved him off with a polite, quiet nod. By day 5, Kabelo was having lunch in the dusty courtyard of her aunt's house. By day 10, he was asking about dowry. Thandiwe waited 3 weeks just to say yes. The wedding was swift and was held in Johannesburg. It had no bridal show, and the guest list did not consist of hundreds of people, just close family, 2 cows worth of dowry, and a civil ceremony. Thandiwe wore a simple blue dress. Kabelo was in his best charcoal suit. He thought he'd traded his old life for peace. He was wrong. Inside his Bryanston mansion, the air turned still. Plants grew unnaturally fast. Mirrors fogged at dawn. At night, Kabelo woke up drenched, as if the floor itself had leaked. He blamed stress. He blamed honeymoon hormones. But Thandiwe said nothing. She just smiled and remained silent. It was his cousin Letabo, a sangoma in secret, who spoke the truth. She arrived unannounced, beads jangling at her ankles, eyes red from midnight rituals. She didn't marry you for love, Letabo told Kabelo over lukewarm tea. She came to collect. Kabelo scoffed. Collect what? My heart. Letabo stared him down. No, your debt, she said. That night, Kabelo dreamt he stood ankle deep in water. Beneath the surface, shapes withered, hands, faces, silent pleas. He woke with the blankets soaked, his mattress heavy as regret. 2 weeks later, Thandiwe announced they were returning to Zambia. No family, no tourism stops. They drove straight from Lusaka airport into the scrubland, past villages, past the new hotels, and finally to a vast concrete dam. She stepped out from the vehicle, her blue dress brushing gravel. This is where our story begins, she said. Kabelo stood beside her, heart pounding. Below them the water stretched, dark and silent. My village was here, she continued. Before your grandfather's company built the dam, we begged them to listen. They said progress costs lives. Her voice cracked. Only once. They opened the floodgates at night. No warning. Babies. Elders. They disappeared. Kabelo's throat tightened. Why tell me this now? She turned, gazed still fixed on the water. Because you married her, She swept her hand towards herself. I am her. Kabelo took a step back. The gravel shifted beneath his feet. A hush fell over the dam. Even the wind died. She isn't alive, he whispered. Tandiwe met his eyes. I am one of them. A girl promised to the river. They never buried my body. I only rest when justice is served. Her words dropped like stone into his chest. He tried to speak, but his voice was caught. Then, I'm your justice? He asked, barely hearing himself. She nodded. Your blood built this, and blood pays. Kabelo stumbled away only to find the earth around him giving way to a sleek, yielding mud. He screamed and tried to reach for solid ground, but his shoes sank past his ankles. The water started growing closer. Tandiwe watched, unflinching. I will not kill you, she said softly. Instead, I will return you. And with those words, the river seized him, not a violent pull, just an inexorable draw, like a slow, relentless tide, dragging him into its depth. That morning, a lone stone lay by the water's lip. The rental sat idling, but Kabelo was gone. Back in Joburg, a boutique opened in Rosebank called Moya and Mist. It sold hand-woven fabrics, rare oils, and healing teas. The owner was a soft-spoken Zambian woman in a blue dress, always barefoot, always serene. No photographs allowed, no questions asked. They say her shop smells of river moss and earth after rain. They say a quiet attendant waters the plants in the back. He never speaks, and his feet are always damp. Sometimes, late at night, passers-by swear they hear a man's laughter echoing in the cool air. The lesson? If you ever hear this tale, remember our actions ripple like water. When you drown a village, the river remembers, and sometimes it returns for what it's due. So, marry wisely, build with honor, and never underestimate what lies beneath.